Some cameras look absolutely incredible on paper until they completely destroy your entire shoot. Today, we're exposing the most misleading cameras of 2025. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be asking yourself why some of these cameras even exist in the first place. Welcome to Alt Buzz, where we expose camera marketing lies and deliver the brutal truth. If you're tired of overhyped gear that disappoints, you're home. Stick around for number one. It might be collecting dust on your shelf right now. By the way, I'm also going to share a completely free tool that actually fixes some of the absolute mess that these cameras create. Sounds completely crazy? Keep watching because you're going to want to know about this. Let's kick things off with number 10, the Leica D Lux 8. This camera was marketed as the ultimate compact luxury powerhouse that would give you professional results in a tiny package. The marketing team at Leica painted this beautiful picture of a camera that combines their legendary glass quality with modern convenience. They promised photographers could finally have that famous Leica look without carrying around a massive system. But here's where reality comes crashing down like a house of cards. This camera completely lacks any real manual versatility, and you're stuck with a fixed zoom range that severely limits your creative options. The real killer? Those over-processed JPEGs that look like they've been run through a beauty filter app, no raw burst support when you actually need it most, and video controls that are so limited they feel like an afterthought from 2010. People actually paid $1,600 for what is essentially a premium point and shoot camera wearing a Leica badge. The worst part is that for the same money, you could buy a legitimate mirrorless system that would give you infinitely more flexibility and better image quality. When photographers realized what they'd actually purchased, the disappointment was absolutely crushing. Coming in at number 9, we have the Canon EOS R100. Canon promised this would be the perfect entry-level gateway into their RF mirrorless ecosystem. They marketed it as the ideal first camera for aspiring photographers who wanted to grow with the system. The promotional materials showed beautiful family photos and suggested this camera would launch 1,000 photography careers. The brutal reality check comes when you discover that Canon stripped this camera so completely bare that it actually hurts to use. Even as a beginner's first camera, there's no dual-pixel autofocus in 4K video, which means your footage will look amateur no matter how hard you try. The crop factor is absolutely massive, turning your wide-angle lens into a telephoto nightmare. No electronic viewfinder means you're squinting at a tiny screen in bright sunlight, and without a microphone jack, forget about recording any decent audio for your videos. Canon essentially created a camera that teaches new photographers all the wrong lessons about what photography should feel like. Instead of inspiring creativity, it frustrates users into thinking they're not good enough, when really it's the camera that's completely inadequate for modern content creation. Number 8 brings us to the Panasonic Lumix S1R. Panasonic pitched this as the ultimate high-resolution beast designed specifically for professional photographers who needed every single pixel for their commercial work. The marketing campaign showcased stunning landscape photographs and suggested this camera would revolutionize how professionals approach high-resolution photography. The crushing disappointment comes from the clunky autofocus system that completely falls apart in low-light situations, exactly when professionals need reliable performance most. The massive file sizes sound impressive until you realize they come with virtually no flexibility in post-processing. The camera produces these enormous files that bog down your computer and fill up your storage, but they don't actually give you the editing latitude you'd expect from such large files. This is a $3,500 camera that feels completely stuck in 2019 technology. While other manufacturers were perfecting hybrid shooting and advanced autofocus systems, Panasonic delivered a camera that excels at absolutely nothing while costing more than most photographers' entire kit. The promise was professional excellence, but the reality is professional frustration. If you're finding value in these honest camera reviews, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We've got so much more gear to expose, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. If that disappointed you, wait until you see what happens when social media hype completely destroys rational camera purchasing decisions. Number 7 is the Fujifilm X100VI. And this might be the most overhyped camera in recent memory. Social media influencers proclaim this the ultimate dream camera, the one device that would instantly make your photos look like they belonged in a magazine. TikTok and Instagram were flooded with aesthetic photos taken with this camera, creating an artificial demand that sent prices through the roof. The harsh reality hits when you try to use this camera for any serious work. It overheats constantly during 4K video recording, making it unreliable for any professional video work. The fixed lens severely limits your creative options, and while that lens is admittedly beautiful, being stuck with one focal length becomes incredibly frustrating when you're trying to tell different visual stories. The worst part is how the influencer hype machine drove prices to absolutely ridiculous levels. What should have been a reasonably priced specialty camera became an overpriced status symbol. It transformed from a photographer's tool into a TikTok trophy that people bought for the aesthetic clout rather than actual photographic capability. The camera itself isn't terrible, but the hype surrounding it created completely unrealistic expectations that no camera could possibly fulfill. At number 6, we have the Pentax K-3 Mark III. Pentax advertised this as the glorious return of the DSLR, promising photographers that optical viewfinders in traditional controls were making a triumphant comeback. They positioned this camera as the choice for serious photographers who refuse to compromise on traditional photography values. The painful reality is that you're paying $2,000 to be permanently stuck in the photographic past. This camera offers no real hybrid appeal for modern content creators. The lens selection is severely limited compared to other systems, and the entire package is unnecessarily bulky without offering any standout features that justify the premium price point. While other manufacturers were perfecting mirrorless technology and creating cameras that excel at both photography and videography, Pentax delivered a camera that feels like it was designed for a market that simply doesn't exist anymore. The few photographers who genuinely prefer DSLRs can find better options for less money, and everyone else has already moved on to more versatile mirrorless systems. Think that's the worst? Wait until you see what happens when a company tries to reinvent photo editing inside a camera body. Number 5 is the Zeiss ZX1, the so-called all-in-one Lightroom camera that promised to revolutionize photographer workflows forever. Zeiss marketed this as the ultimate solution for photographers who were tired of the traditional shoot, import, edit, export workflow. They promised seamless integration between capture and processing that would save hours of post-production time. The devastating reality is that they essentially built a Ferrari and then installed the engine from a lawnmower. The user interface is painfully laggy, making simple adjustments feel like torture. The autofocus system is inconsistent at best, completely unreliable at worst. The app integration that was supposed to be revolutionary actually works worse than just using your phone and a traditional camera. For $6,000, photographers expected cutting-edge technology that would streamline their entire creative process. Instead, they got a sluggish, frustrating device that made simple tasks more complicated than they needed to be. The concept was brilliant, but the execution was so poor that it actually made photographers less efficient rather than more productive. This camera proved that sometimes innovation for innovation's sake creates more problems than it solves. And if these camera fails are helping you dodge expensive bullets, make sure you're subscribed because we're just getting started with the worst offenders. Trust me, the final 3 will blow your mind. Think that's the worst? Wait until you see what happens when a company tries to reinvent photo editing inside a camera body. Coming in at number 4, the Hasselblad X2D 100C. Hasselblad promised medium format elegance made truly portable for the first time. They marketed this camera to a much broader audience than traditional medium format cameras, suggesting that incredible image quality was finally accessible to serious enthusiasts, not just commercial studios. The crushing disappointment comes from discovering that this camera looks completely professional, but shoots like an unfinished prototype. The autofocus system is painfully slow, making it nearly impossible to capture any kind of decisive moment. The user interface feels clunky and unintuitive, especially coming from modern mirrorless cameras. Battery life is absolutely terrible, meaning you'll spend more time managing power than actually taking photographs. This camera has all the aesthetic appeal of professional medium format photography, but none of the reliability that professionals actually need. It's designed for controlled studio environments, but marketed to photographers who want to use it in the field. The disconnect between marketing promises and actual performance creates a frustrating experience that leaves photographers questioning whether they made a terrible mistake. And speaking of cameras that completely miss their target audience, let me tell you about something that can actually save disappointing photos. Even when your camera fails to deliver, you can still create stunning results with a Photo AI, the photo editing tool that transforms mediocre shots into absolute magic. I've already done a comprehensive review of this software, and you can find that link down in the description if you want to see exactly what it's capable of achieving. The best part is that you can register and use every single feature completely free. You only pay when you're ready to export your finished images. It's like having a professional photo editor built right into your workflow. But let's get back to these disappointing cameras because the final three are going to shock you. Number 3 is the Olympus E M5 Mark III. Olympus marketed this as the ultimate travel-ready beast that could handle any adventure you could throw at it. The promotional materials showed photographers scaling mountains and exploring remote locations with this compact, weather-sealed camera system. The heartbreaking reality is that this so-called adventure camera couldn't actually survive real adventures. The tripod mount has a tendency to crack under stress, which is absolutely unacceptable for a camera marketed to outdoor photographers. The electronic viewfinder becomes frustratingly laggy in challenging shooting conditions, and there are persistent cold weather shutter lock issues that can completely ruin once-in-a-lifetime shots. Imagine traveling thousands of miles to capture the perfect sunrise on a mountain peak, only to discover that your camera has locked up because of the temperature. This isn't just disappointing, it's devastating for photographers who trusted this camera with their most important shots. The promise was adventure-ready reliability, but the reality is a fragile camera that fails exactly when you need it most. At number 2, we have the Nikon Z30, supposedly Nikon's dedicated vlogging camera designed specifically for content creators. Nikon's marketing campaign targeted YouTubers, TikTok creators, and social media influencers, promising a camera that understood exactly what modern content creators needed to succeed. The absolutely baffling reality is that Nikon built a camera specifically for vloggers, but somehow forgot to include everything that vloggers actually need. There's no electronic viewfinder, making it impossible to see what you're recording in bright conditions. No headphone jack means you can't monitor your audio, which is absolutely critical for video content. The dynamic range is severely limited, and there's no embody image stabilization for smooth handheld footage. It's like Nikon conducted a survey asking content creators what they needed most, then deliberately designed a camera that ignored every single response. The disconnect between marketing promises and actual functionality is so severe that it feels almost intentional. Content creators who bought this camera expecting their perfect vlogging companion instead got a camera that actively worked against their creative goals. You've seen specifications lie to your face. You've witnessed price tags that completely betrayed your trust. But number 1 takes camera disappointment to an entirely different level. And here we are at number 1, the Sony A1 Mark II, Sony's flagship camera that promised absolute perfection for $6,500. This isn't just misleading marketing. This is practically predatory design. Sony positioned this as the ultimate camera that would satisfy every possible photographic need. The one camera that could replace an entire kit bag full of specialized equipment. The absolutely infuriating reality is that for $6,500, photographers are essentially paying to be beta testers for unfinished technology. This camera still overheats during 8K video recording, making its headline feature unreliable when you need it most. The upgrade from the original A1 is so minimal in real-world usage that it feels like Sony just wanted to extract more money from their most loyal customers. The rolling shutter issues that plagued previous Sony cameras are still present, and there are persistent compatibility problems with CFX press cards that can cause you to lose entire shoots. This is a camera that costs more than many people's cars, yet it still feels like early access hardware, rather than a finished professional tool. The most insulting part is that Sony knows exactly what photographers need because they've been making cameras for decades. This isn't ignorance. It's deliberately releasing incomplete products at premium prices because they know professional photographers will buy anything with Sony's flagship branding. It's a camera that frustrates creators far more than it helps them, and at this price point, that's absolutely unforgivable. Misleading cameras are absolutely everywhere in 2025, but now you're armed with the knowledge to avoid these expensive mistakes. Which one of these cameras shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I genuinely want to know which disappointment hit you the hardest. And if you're stuck with disappointing results from any camera, don't forget to check out Avoto AI. It might just be the tool that saves your next important shoot when your camera lets you down. Make sure to subscribe to Alt Buzz, hit that notification bell, and remember our motto: we don't follow trends, we expose them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we continue cutting through the marketing nonsense to bring you the truth about camera gear.